Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Vance Wyatt, Lake County Commissioner for District 14. I wanted to welcome you all to my Facebook Live, or first one I am hosting of 2018. This is a event where you're able to learn about various different programs and services that are through Lake County, similar to my Coffee with Your County Board member meetings that I host on a quarterly basis as I do these Facebook Live events. So let's just go ahead and get started. So first I want to invite you all out for any senior that's on there. I am hosting a breakfast March 15th at 9 a.m. It's going to be at the Foss Park District Youth Center. And it's going to be where you're going to be able to learn about various different senior programs and programs that are available to anyone that's on Medicare through Oak Street Health. It will be again on March 15th, which is next Thursday at 9 a.m. It's going to be at the Foss Park District Youth Center. Now, to RSVP, all you have to do is call 844-808-8262. And then my next event that I'm also will be holding is it's a partnership with Women Enough. Hashtag lunch bag. It's going to be March 31st, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m. We're going to be packaging up about 500 lunches for the homeless and the needy. And this is going to be a great event to give back to the community. It's going to be at the North Chicago Public Library, again at 10 a.m. And it's the North Chicago Public Library on 2100 Argonne Avenue in North Chicago. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm sure since a lot of you all did jump on to onto the testing of the Facebook Live earlier, that you guys are excited or wanting to see what we're going to talk about today. So I just want to remind you again also about early voting, which started on March 5th, yesterday, Monday. It's going to be going on until March 19th. And this is the general primary where you're able to vote for individuals from governor all the way down to your county board member as well. For more information, you can go to vancewyatt.com/voting to get your early voting location along with the times for that voting location. Trying to get the video or the questions to pull up on my side here. We are going to be having an interactive format, so you're going to be able to ask me questions directly about what's going on in Lake County and what I'm doing as your county commissioner. So let's go ahead and get started right now then. We'll start off with the Local Government Reform Commission, Government Reform Implementation Committee. Sorry, it is a mouthful. So this is a new committee that was established by the county board back at our December meeting. And this particular committee, it will be in charge of looking over a few government reforms that is very needed within our community and our county as a whole. I am serving as the vice chairman of that committee, and we will be going over a number of different services or different policy proposals. The first one is the elected board chairman. We are looking at, in regards to this committee, is having a elected board chairman, if it would make sense for us to have one or not. Currently, our county board chairman is elected by the 21 members of the county board. Each board member has the opportunity to become that chairman. It just takes a simple majority of the county board to establish or make that person the chairman. To move to a county-wide one, it would be similar to what you find in DuPage County or in Cook County, where you have the board president or chairman is elected independently from all the commissioners. They will not have an individual district similar to mine, where we have to not only maintain or provide services to members that live in our district, but to the entire county as a whole. The other big thing that we're going to be working on is talking about consolidation of our board districts. So currently, as I just said, there's 21 county board districts. Each of them have their own various different communities that are in it. For instance, the 14th district has Park City, North Chicago, portions of Waukegan, portions of Gurnee, and a little bit of Lake Bluff. Those district boundaries with this consolidation, will significantly change. There was a proposal back in 1990 to reduce the board down to 15 with an elected board chairman. In 2000, there was another proposal to reduce the board down to 12. And that would significantly take away members in the minority communities voting power because we would have less representation on the board. Back in 2012, something similar happened where there was 23 board members, and we went down to 21. I'm adamantly opposed to that. I would love to hear from your guys' perspective that are on the channel right now. What do you believe, or how we should actually how should we actually do that? If we should reduce the board from 21 down to 12 or 15 or whatever number. I've even heard there's been talk about reducing the board down to 17 board members. Personally, again, like I said, I don't agree with it. I think that it would negatively affect minority communities, specifically the Black and brown communities, because we typically live within 3 to 5 different cities and villages throughout Lake County. So you're going to start to see those communities be kind of forced into one big massive district, which we wouldn't get adequate representation from. The next item is independent map reform, which is you would take the power to redraw the maps away from the board members themselves and actually move that into giving it to the this reform commission or independent district commission, where they would actually determine how the maps are drawn. So this is actually a map of our district, the 14th district, which I like to look at it this way because it reminds me of a pork chop. You know, it's primarily North Chicago with all of Park City, and then you have portions of Gurnee, Waukegan, and a little bit of Lake Bluff. By doing it, won't have, or if we went to an independent reform or independent map commission, you will no longer be required, or the elected officials won't be the ones that will actually determine how those maps are drawn. So in a sense, you will allow the voters to pick their representatives and not the politicians to pick their voters. And I think that is something that's been talked about at the state level, and it's something that we should do here on a local level. And I do want to, say it's a great thing that we're looking at that. I think that is something that will be approved, and it will better the lives of everyone in Lake County if we were to move in that direction. One of the other things that we're talking about doing, or part of that committee, is going to multi-member districts. For individuals that live in Park City, or if you live in Lake Forest, you're kind of familiar with this, where you have aldermen from each individual district or ward. There's 2 in each ward. It would be similar to that. DuPage County has something similar to that currently, where they have 2 or 4 members per district, from my understanding. And when they have that, there's, in a sense, each election, there's 1 or 2 board members that are up for election, and then they represent that entire area. Now, if we were to consolidate the board down, that is one of the thought processes behind it, to make sure there's fair representation, to switch over to a multi-member district versus having just a single member district that's only 12 people on the board, similar to Cook County, where you only have about 12 commissioners there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the most effectiveness when you're trying to represent some of the poorer communities. Lake County is a lot different than Cook County. We don't have as many people, but all of our communities, we have 52 cities and villages throughout Lake County. A lot of us, we have some similarities, but there are a lot of differences, and it's important to have diverse opinions on the county board. So that's why one thought process, if we were going to reduce the board down to 12 or 15, you would go to a multi-member district. From our conversations on that committee so far, there really isn't an appetite for that, because of the fact that some people have said it doesn't work as well. Primarily people in Lake Forest, they have said that, but Park City, it works fine. I guess it really depends on the community and the district that you and the 2 members that are serving in that district. So those are the different things that we can discuss. I don't know if I'm going to see if anyone has an opinion on that. Looks like Zach Key has totally supposed shrinking representation as a way to reducing minority voting power. Again, that's one reason why I will not support reducing our board down to 12 or 15 or however many members they want to do it or reduce it down to. Totally opposed to it. I'm assuming you mean totally opposed to shrinking our districts and not to politicians. Okay, politicians should not be able to pick their voters. Yeah, so what by us actually having an independent map committee or commission or however you want to phrase it, they would have the authority to pick or to draw those the boundaries of our districts accordingly based on a number of different things with the Civil Rights Act, making sure that they're fair in a sense or competitive. There's a number of different things that are that will go into that, or how they will draw those maps. The League of Women Voters is supportive of going to a commission based on a email that all the board members received, along with what they've stated in the newspaper just recently. Feel free to come on out here and throw some ask some more questions. I see there's a number of you on there, but you don't have to be afraid to ask any questions. That as we're going through, this is a time for you to know about what's going on in our county, and also to ask any questions that you may have. So we'll move on to a few other things that are going to be discussed are under that Lake County Government Reform Implementation Committee. One thing is about the appointment of countywide elected officials. So currently we elect our coroner, recorder of deeds, treasurer's office, circuit court clerk, the sheriff's office, the state's attorney, the circuit court clerk. A number of those different positions are currently elected independently. Now, some of them we can switch over to an appointed position versus having a elected person. Three of them, of course, is the coroner's office, which would become like a medical examiner's office. Former coroner, Dr. Rudd, that was his big push, is trying to make it into an appointed position. Some have talked about the recorder of deeds position to merge that with the county clerk's office because those roles are similar. And then eliminating the treasurer's office and merging that into the finance department that the county currently has. Long time ago, there was an auditor, county auditor. That position was eliminated, and the same thing would go on with the treasurer. And some of those roles, or most of those roles, will be merged into the finance department that we have. So now I wanted to, see if there's any questions out there. I see there's a few more people just jumped on line. Hopefully you guys have some good questions, or at least tell me your opinion on some of those things. Like, should we get rid of appointing, or should we move from electing a coroner or recorder of deeds or the treasurer's office and move that towards appointing them? Those things are important to hear from your perspective, because then that affects what I do as your county commissioner. Along with the multi-member districts, independent map initiatives, the consolidation of the board districts down, and also the countywide elected chairman. With the countywide chairman, I want to go back there quickly. With that, we will actually that chairman position the role of that position will need to change. Currently, the board chairman is technically, yes, the executive. It's similar to my role as board president for the Park District that I previously held. But the county board chairman does not actually manage day-to-day operations, of the county. That we hire a county administrator to handle that, and that's one thing that we are definitely looking to do. Or I shouldn't say definitely. That is something that we may need to do if that's what the citizens of the community of the county want. Our committee or commission that looked at it decided that we shouldn't go that way. We should keep it this current way that we currently have it. I think that my personal opinion on it is, I know when I was board president for the Park District, I wanted to break our Park District down into wards and have independently elected commissioners from different wards and have one at-large board president. So it would be similar to that type of setup. I don't personally oppose it. I think that I haven't been on the county board long enough to see the effectiveness of having a county administrator versus having an elected chairman. That is something I look to learn more about as I continue to serve as the county commissioner for our community. I do see some some questions that's coming in. Keisha Adams is asking, why is it important for someone to vote this March 20th? So voting is really important, of course. When I ran for Park District Commissioner in 2015, I won by 2 votes. So these local elections are the most important elections for you, from your Park District all the way up to your county board members, state reps, and et cetera, because your vote really does matter, more so than it does for president. When you vote for president, we vote for electors to actually elect the president. That's the electoral college. With the local election, when you vote for me, that vote counts towards me. That's it. That's all. So it can come down to 1 or 2 votes. For instance, in North Chicago, there were recently in 2017 there was an alderman that won by 3 votes, and that was. She lost that alderman was a write-in candidate against the person that was on the ballot. So every vote does matter. And also in North Chicago, the 4th Ward, 2 elections back to back, actually. In 2007, the election was won by 1 vote. In the previous election in 2003, the election was tied. So they literally flipped a coin, a quarter, to determine who would be the alderman. So if you don't get out there and vote, you cannot really complain about what's going on in your government, because you're not really being I shouldn't say a good citizen, but you're not being responsible to your responsibilities and trying to make sure that we have government that works for you. Another question that just came in, some Lake County politicians think that casinos in low income communities are the answer for our economic problems. Are casinos good for people or good for connected politicians? So, my district has on the score is supposed to be the site for the Waukegan Casino. When I was at the Park District, we did have a van that took the seniors out to the casino. People that want to gamble will gamble. It is an addiction that people have. It is unfortunate that we do have the level of gaming in poor communities, but I don't believe that it is the best option or the best solution for economic development. But the question is, okay, do we ban gambling? Or, okay, then what's the next step after that? Because it's an addictive task. I don't think that prohibition on anything really solves it. If you look at liquor, it caused bootlegging, and then you had the rise of the mafia, and right here in Chicago, actually down the street in Chicago. So I don't know if that prohibition outright would eliminate it. Of course, we all know that during football season, we all have those guys that, in the office, you may make a bet. Technically, that's illegal. That's gambling. But the question is are you gonna, just by making it outlawing it, are you gonna completely eliminate it? No. I don't think anyone really believes that. I think that, gambling or gaming in general, like especially with the video gaming, I think that, when I've played slots, video gaming, I don't have an infinity to lose money or a desire to lose money. So that's probably why I haven't gotten addicted to it. But, I guess I can understand when it is, it's right there, and you hear the bells going off, and you see somebody else winning, and then you want to jump in there and actually try to win. It's no different really than the lottery. Are we going to eliminate the lottery to go along with that as well? Those are some of the questions that we should have if we're talking about getting rid of completely video gaming and casinos. The lottery, regardless of how people may feel about it, because it is still technically a gambling, and we really need to address the mental health aspect of that more so than outright outlawing it. It's just like if someone was addicted to methamphetamine or opioids or cocaine or something like that, you would want to treat the mental health issue and treat the rationale or reason behind their addiction really more so than just outright outlawing something. There's a number of individuals that are, and even in my family, that have been addicted to substances, including liquor. And I don't think that if it takes strong will or someone's free will to actually stop them from being alcoholic or a drug addict, more so than just outright banning it, because they're still going to try to look to get that hit. If we're not addressing the underlying issue and reason, we're not going to ever really solve the addiction problem, really. And you're really not going to truly solve it 100%, but you can look to definitely reduce it significantly. And I think that's something we should definitely do. What are some of the community organizations that have endorsed you, Commissioner Wyatt, and why are some of those important to you and your constituents? Sure. So that is going into the election portion of politics. So I have been endorsed by the Illinois Sierra Club, which is very important to residents in North Chicago, Waukegan, Park City, and all of Lake County, really, because in Lake County, or in Waukegan specifically, we do have a coal-burning power plant. And that power plant, I should say, causes, the coal ash actually causes asthma and individuals suffering from COPD like my mother to struggle to breathe. And it's important that we address those issues along with resilient infrastructure to deal with the climate change that is going on and is going to continue to go on due to the use of fossil fuels. I think that we need to have a real focus on renewable energy. So one thing I've started doing since I've been a county commissioner is to sit down with the mayor of North Chicago and then try to bring in Falls Park, North Chicago School District, to actually create a community in Lake County, one of the poorest communities, in the sense of launching pad to have community solar. And having community solar allows you the opportunity to take less energy from the coal plant, or say even nuclear power plants that are downstate Illinois, and actually transition more to something that's for the future and not going to continue to pollute the communities that we live in. I think that we can't just look locally all the time with energy. We have to look at it at a state level and a national level and even a worldwide level, because what we do here in Waukegan affects people in India or China and causes those CO2 emissions, not directly, not meaning as soon as you turn your car on, you're going to cause a tidal wave in another country, but over a period of time, those CO2 emissions build up, and it causes the greenhouse effect that creates the the climate change that causes tsunamis or other various different superstorms that we've had, like down in Texas, the major storms that we saw last year, or the storms that we saw here in Lake County in 2017. Some of the other endorsements in regards to organizations is some of the labor unions. So I am a big proponent of unions. My mother was a member of the ATU, and then when I was away for college, I was working with SEIU to help get our Sodexo workers unionized. The workers wanted a fair wage, and they felt that they were underpaid, so I was working with the SEIU to help get those workers unionized. Unfortunately, that measure that push was unsuccessful because of pushback from the administration and apathy from the other students. But it was a real eye opener that people here that are working, average workers, just like my mom, just like my father, who was a maintenance worker for our park district. They really need strong representation, and sometimes they're not a lawyer, and they may not know what is right or what's wrong. And by having a union, I think that allows those individuals to have someone they go to that can help them get the necessary legal recourse that they need. Outside of that, that's pretty much it, is the unions in the Sierra Club right now. And in regards to public financing of my election, I have been my largest campaign contributor. I personally believe that we should move towards public financing and not, politicians having to ask people for money. In a sense, some ways you can feel like you're beholden to those individuals because they give you a significant amount of money, and if you didn't receive that money, you may not be able to win in your next election. Outside of myself, I've had one other person that gave me a significant donation of $2,000. And if you exclude myself and that person, my average donation is about $30. So way less than, what most people, other elected officials may be able to collect. But I definitely have, tried to push my agenda that's going to represent my district, which means I'm not going to always be popular with people that have a lot of money. So that's why I'm not afraid to put more money into my own campaign. Let's see if there's any more questions. Where is someone that can go? So Keisha asked again, where can someone go to vote? So on my website at vancewyatt.com/voting, I have all the voting sites for our district. So if you live in North Chicago, early voting is going to be at North Chicago City Hall. If you live in Park City, you have the option of going downtown Waukegan or going out to the Gurnee Village Hall. If you live in Gurnee, of course, you're going to go to Gurnee as well, Village Hall. And then if you're in Waukegan, you're going to go to the county building. And then there's one other location in Waukegan, but for those members that live in my district, it isn't closer than the county building. So those are your early voting locations. Now, if you want your actual election day voting site, that information is also through that voting website or on my website as well. It will take you over to the county's website and you can get more information about that. You would just type into the Vote Power website. Now, if you're not registered to vote, you can register to vote, but you have to vote that same day. So you have to go down to the county building, register to vote, and actually vote that same day. There are some of the early voting sites now. If you're registered to vote or you're not registered to vote in, say, North Chicago, they can register you there, and you would have to vote right then and there as well. Let's see. Mike Coleman said, "I'm looking forward to youth in office and in charge." I'm assuming you meant. So yes, I am the youngest person on the county board right now, and the youngest person of color to ever serve on our county board. So I do believe that I represent a good number of the constituents within not only my district but in Lake County as a whole. Especially when you're looking at jail reform and criminal justice reform. We have a lot of individuals, I may have a suit on today, but, if I'm in jeans and I have my earrings on, I will look just like a lot of the young men and women that are currently locked up in Lake County Jail. Let's see. You guys can feel free to ask more questions. I want to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. Of course, I do have some things I want to go over, but of course, you all are the most important ones, and making sure I get your questions answered. So we'll start off back into some of the things that I want to give you guys some time to ask more questions. So some of the things I've been working on since I've been on the county board now, I'll go into Tobacco 21 since that was one of the first things that we had accomplished when I was on the county board. What Tobacco 21 is, if you're not already familiar with it, we raised the age to buy cigarettes to the age of 21, from 18 to 21. Since we are a non-home rule county, non-home rule county means in a sense we don't have the authority to supersede what the cities do. Since we're not that type of county, we have to go to each individual city to actually adopt the similar ordinance that we did for it to take place there. So currently in Waukegan or Chicago, Park City, Gurnee, and Lake Bluff, you can purchase cigarettes if you're from 18 to 21 right now. But if you're in unincorporated areas of Lake County, you will not be able to. There are a number of different communities around Lake County that have already started moving in that direction. Deerfield, Highland Park as an example. Waukegan and Gurnee right now are still talking about it. With Waukegan, there is support on the city council, and it looks like they will move in that direction. I actually just got an update today in regards to that. Gurnee also is getting some movement and traction there. But unfortunately, they're not at that. Neither one of those communities are ready to move in that direction. We are looking at also sitting down with Mayor Pinnell, Park City, to making sure that he's aware of what Tobacco 21 is and try to get his support on board for that as well. I know Senator Link introduced a bill down in Springfield to make Tobacco 21 the law of the entire state of Illinois and not just Lake County. Lake County was a leader on it. We were the first non-home rule government agency to actually adopt Tobacco 21. It's something we should all be proud of. My mother, for example, she started smoking at the age of 13, and her father started smoking at the age of 16. Both of them suffer from COPD now, and they are, required to be on oxygen pretty much 24/7 now because of that. So it's a real health issue for us to address it. And I think that by Lake County taking that lead, and hopefully the state of Illinois will adopt it statewide, you'll start to see a significant reduction in people that have asthma or COPD later on in their lives, along with eliminating our coal power plant that we have here. Move on to the next topic is property taxes. Property taxes, for those who don't know, North Chicago, actually I see Dimples is on, and she actually brought this to my attention about Forbes, citing that North Chicago has the highest property tax in the entire state of Illinois. This was a Forbes article from 2017, and it reminds me of when I first took office, when I was looking at the property taxes between individuals in Gurnee versus the individuals that are the houses in North Chicago, where a house in North Chicago is only worth $120,000, and a house in Gurnee that's worth $500,000 pays the exact same amount in property tax. That to me makes absolutely no sense in any shape or form. Why some of the poorest communities in our entire county, mind you, this is the 47th richest county in the nation, pays the same amount in property taxes as other communities do, and get less services at the same time. So I do see Katie McBride talked about the grocery store. So that is something I was going to bring up. So the grocery store in North Chicago, I have been working with a non-for-profit group called Growing Healthy Veterans. And what they want to do is help veterans that are suffering from PTSD grow fruits and vegetables, because it's supposed to help deal with some of the health issues that are attributed to PTSD. So what we're planning on doing is, since they're going to grow those fruits and vegetables in the community, which is near the VA, we are going to get them to go and move in a different direction and have them sell those fruits and vegetables in North Chicago. We are looking at doing that at 16th and Jackson. And that is something that used to be an old grocery store there. They used to sell sausages. I think the owner was Mr. Brown back when I was a child. So we were looking at that site, and it's not big. It is something small, so it is just a start. It's not a full-fledged grocery store like a Joel Oscar or anything like that, but it's a step in the right direction for us to have at least a small grocery store, and then that will allow the mayor and the aldermen of North Chicago to move in the direction of actually getting a full-fledged grocery store, because we don't need to get another dollar store into the community. I know we just got a new Family Dollar, that's great economic development for the community, but it's not really what we need. We need a full-fledged grocery store, and I think that we're going to continue to push in that direction. It's not really a county board member's job to get a grocery store for the community specifically, but I think since I do live there and I represent those residents that are living in a food desert, it's important for me to be involved and proactive in trying to address those issues. The banquet hall, and then Katie said the banquet hall is a smack in the face of your citizens. So I was not on the county board at the time when that banquet hall went up there, or when it was being proposed. I didn't join the county board until June of last year. So I've only been in office now for 8 months, and I've been really working proactive to try to address a lot of the issues that we have in our community. And some of our issues are long withstanding. The fact that we don't have a grocery store goes back to when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So these are some issues that, are really go far back, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get those things done. I understand what other people have done in office, but I can't address what they've done. I can only address for myself, and I've given myself a time limit on how long I will serve in office. So that kind of gives me a little kick in the butt to get moving on a lot of these issues. But, definitely I would say that the grocery store is something that we definitely need in North Chicago. To spur any type of economic development. But since we're talking about economic development in North Chicago, I do want to also bring up two more things. Sheridan Crossings, there is on the county board tomorrow, Wednesday at 1 p.m., our finance committee will be voting on an abatement for the property taxes down at Sheridan Crossings. So the developer, in a sense, the developer wants the various local governments to abate the taxes because our tax rate is so high in order for them to come into the community. So we are going to vote on it next week or tomorrow, and then the full county board will vote on it on Tuesday as long as the committee approves it. So I am expecting it to pass the committee and also pass the full county board from my various conversations with individuals that I serve with. I see a few more questions. I'll go ahead and point some of them out. I see Zach Key brought up the fact about no negative campaigning, and he's glad that I stood up on my accomplishments and not your shortcomings of your opponent. So yeah, again, in regards to the campaign portion of it, I am not focused on pointing out what my opponents, I should say, have or haven't done in their time in office or anything like that. My focus is doing what's best for the community. Of course, there are some ways you can compare and contrast myself to them, but I'm focused again on what I'm doing and what I have been doing. And I know that there's been, unfortunately, going back to the political financing or campaign finance portion of it, there's a lot of money going against me because of the fact that I'm standing up for what's needed in our community and fighting for real property tax relief. Some of that may be government consolidation, specifically in school districts. If you live in North Chicago, Waukegan, half of your tax bill goes to your school district alone. But yet we're the two lowest ranked schools in Lake County. I think that we should go to a county-wide school system. I know that gets a lot of money from, millionaires to some of my opponents, but, it's just the reality of what we need in our community. And as the representative and advocate for our community, I have to do what I think is best for our community. I see Ms. Scott has some questions. She's saying North Chicago doesn't hire minorities. Why? And I'm speaking of individuals with graduates. She had another one. Why? How can you address this, change this, or address this? Now, I am on the county board. I do not have any control over how the city actually hires or fires people. What we do offer through the county is workforce development that helps place people into jobs. Now, we have a number of minorities that are working for Lake County government, and that is something we can be proud of. We have a number of individuals that are even in the department head level that are minority descent. Our county one of our deputy county administrators happens to be African American as well. In regards to the city, that is something that should be more addressed towards the mayor or the alderman of the city versus myself, which I, again, have no control over that. But I think that is something that should be, addressed. Myself, I have a graduate level degree. So it would be, I think it's something that it would be worthwhile for us to have individuals that live in the community that work there. I know our public works director, Ed Williams, he lives in North Chicago. And I would like to see, speaking as a North Chicagoan and not as a county commissioner at this time, but I would like to see more people at our director level and department head level live in our community, since they do tend to make more money than everyone else. I personally would like to see a requirement for them to live in the community, but I don't make that decision. Again, that's the mayor and the city council's decision. Let's see. I see Dimples has a big question. Lake County does numerous capital projects over the years, construction, roadways. Is there a way to include contractor language for local laborers? Contractors currently hire current union workers. Let's try to employ more Lake County residents. So actually, I do completely agree with that, where you we need to have more local people. And one thing I'm really pushing for is to have more local businesses get contracts that we have at the county. For instance, in North Chicago, there is the Marion Jones redevelopment, and the company's coming out from Joliet, but we had a lot of individuals that actually applied to be the general contractor that came from way outside of Lake County. You had some in DuPage, Cook. You even had a company in Iowa, and you had a company in Kentucky that also bid on it. Now, we can't control who bids on the general contractor portion of it, but we can definitely try to see about putting in some type of requirement. Now, the only issue with that, and when you get into the minority contracting aspect of it, those restrictions or requirements can be done if we were a home rule county. Lake County is not a home rule county like Cook County. That's why you see that not being an issue in Lake County and Cook County, but you can see it being an issue in Lake County and other collar counties. Lake County, Will County is the only other one that is a home rule county, similar to similar to Cook County. But we definitely need to move in that direction of being a home rule county, so we can actually put requirements in there. Now, in regards to the unions aspect of it, the union is going to require that they be a current union member. What we could do locally is try to see if there's a way we can actually help those individuals that can't pay their union dues become current, and help them get into that company, and in a sense pay that system back or program back. That's something that we could definitely look at doing. I will definitely have a conversation with Damar Harris, who does workforce development, see if that's something that's feasible that we could do for Lake County. Let's see what else. I see everyone saying about voting. That is definitely important. I see Mike Coleman came up with and said, "Can you vote with a felony?" So yes, you can vote, and with a felon, you're not required to, or unlike other states, you are fully restored of your rights once you leave jail. In Illinois, unlike other states. Now, some people may tell you that you can't vote, but you can actually vote. You can even run for certain offices. I shouldn't say there's certain offices you can run for. For instance, congressman, you can technically run for congressman. There used to be, before a law change, you could run for a lot of the local offices as well. So you're fully restored for the most part of your rights. Let's see what else. Is anything being done to draw more corporations which provide greater opportunity for career advancement in Lake County? So we have Lake County Partners, which is working on bringing more Fortune 500 companies and larger companies and even smaller companies to Lake County. We brought Caterpillar from Peoria up to Lake County, so that is our 12th Fortune 500 company now. And then here locally in North Chicago and Waukegan area, Waukegan and Lake County work together in conjunction with Lake County Partners to try to get Amazon HQ here. I know everyone was talking about Chicago trying to get it, but Waukegan was in the running for that. We were at least putting in a bid for it to make a competitive, play in regards to that, to them coming here. And I think that if we are to move forward as a community, we're going to need that economic development with good number of solid companies to come here to hire people that live here, which also leads into one of the initiatives that I'm trying to start as a county commissioner is tax credits for businesses to hire people with past criminal history. Now, if you are a felon, most people will know that it is harder for you to get a job. And we've done this, there's been ban of box, and there's much further we can go in that respect as well. But I think that if we offer tax credits to businesses to hire people that are upfront, say, hey, I am a felon, but they're in a sense incentivized to hire people like that because they would get a cut on their taxes. I think that would be a great way to spur economic development for people that live in Zion, North Chicago, Waukegan, and Park City, and throughout all of Lake County, because there are felons throughout the rest of Lake County. We tend to think of those individuals only predominantly being in these certain 4 or 5 communities, but we definitely should look at doing, tax credits for those individuals to offer them, to get them a job and start, turning their lives around so they can actually have a family and actually be able to, not face the opportunity of going back to jail. Even starting their own business. That is something that we should be doing at the North Chicago Library. We have a business center now, a small business center. So you're able to start your own business right here in the community. Amazon, as an example, which I just was referring to, their first office was in the library. And then their first distribution center was in the garage. So, we have the tools right here. We just have to take advantage of them and actually move ourselves forward. Let's see. Dimples said, thanks for the feedback. Cook County has specific language to hire X percent of labor. Good breakdown versus home rule versus non-home rule. So yeah, the city of Waukegan and the city of North Chicago have similar language in their city ordinances that allow individuals or require a certain number of people to be hired, and specifically of minority descent, to be hired in their on any and every project that they have, and that those individual bodies, the city council, or they have to waive that requirement. Lake County, again, like I said, we're not home rule county, so we don't have that authority to do it. We would literally have to do it on each and every single individual bid that we do to get that. And I don't think that, to be honest, I don't believe that's going to be something that will happen. I think that if we became a home rule county and just a part of our individual county ordinance, that would be the most effective way. You're literally asking each and every time we go out to bid. So if we want to bid staples or something like that, or it's just something mundane, we would have to put that language in each of our bids every single time. Not saying we shouldn't or anything like that, but I think that if we just have it, that's our rules. No matter what, nothing will fall through the cracks, because you can run into it where you're doing it on every single one, and you just have one time where it's a big contract and oops, it didn't make it in there, and then now there's no minority requirement on that. Now, if it's a federally funded program, some of those requirements are in there, just like the current Lake County Housing Authority's proposal or requirement for minority contractors. So that's something that we can definitely do with a county ordinance, which I think is the best option that we should do. I see there's a number of people out there. You guys can still go ahead and ask some more questions. Just want to make sure I get everyone else's before I go back to some of the things. Okay. All right, so we'll go back into some of the other things that that's on my list to discuss. One thing I went to North Chicago's City Council last night, and we were discussing 911 consolidation. So what 911 consolidation is pretty much we're consolidating. There was a study down in Springfield where we should that local governments can save money by consolidating 911 centers. So we have 52 different government or cities and villages throughout Lake County, and by consolidating down to a handful of 911 centers, you'll save a lot of costs, because those costs will be shared amongst multiple jurisdictions. So the proposal that has been talked about right now, and what we're moving into doing more research in regards to, is consolidating down to two. So one typically going to be in the northeastern quadrant of the county, and one out more towards the southwestern portion of the county, to cover the entire community, based on the one study that was done by Lake County in regards to that. We think that it is something that we should be doing, and the county board did approve that initiative to start off with it, and we're asking that each community contribute $30,000 to those into the future study to see how we would actually do it, because we would need to synthesize, again, 52 different 911 centers into two, or into at least, well, it'd be two centers, but they would work collaboratively and have similar computer systems that could be, if one goes down, we would be able to switch fully over to one other one. So that is something that's going to take money and time, and we're going to have to hire a project manager to look over that and figure out how the best way to do it is, and then also work with the individual cities on, if we were to start it, say 5 years down the line, how are we going to actually move in that direction of getting you into, getting you online? And that's something that we're going to do. And North Chicago will be approving it from the sound of it, from the meeting we had last night at their next city council meeting. Waukegan and Park City, Gurnee, and a lot of the other communities were definitely looking at doing the same thing. Now, of course, everyone's going to want to ask about the consolidation plan that we had, where these consolidation sites are going to be. Since I represent the 14th district, I am going to fight for it to be right here in the 14th district. North Chicago, I've talked with the mayor already in regards to a possible location in North Chicago. I know Mayor Cunningham and Waukegan wants it in their brand new facility they just built or redeveloped within the last 2 years. And then I'm looking at a site in Park City that I'm looking to speak with Mayor Pinnell to make sure we get that as a possible location. And I think that it will benefit this area tremendously because you're looking at about 100 to 200 something jobs right there in one center. That's with local government money that will be able to provide jobs for individuals that are here in the community. Someone just asked about if someone's 17 years or older, can they vote? So that is a yes and no question. So they can vote if they're 17 right now, before they're going to be 17, as long as they're going to turn 18 on or before the November election. So if your child's going to be 18 this year, if their birthday is before November 6th, then they can vote in the March primary. They cannot vote if their birthday is, say, November 28th or something like that. They won't be eligible to vote in either the primary or the general election. That's a new law that was changed about 2 years ago. Someone asked about the mailer in regards to that went out against me. Again, I'll address it again about property taxes. So there was a mailer that went out in regards to me stating that I voted to raise property taxes. And it cited two different positions that I had. One was the Chicago Public Library, and the other position was the Falls Park District. So at the North Chicago Public Library, we have no ability or no authority to raise property taxes, period, at all. It is completely not true. There is no possible way that the library board has that authority, because we're not a district library. We're what's called a city library. And with the city library, the city council addresses that. Now, at the Falls Park District, what ended up happening was I voted against it. The property tax increase that we had in 2017, it's voted on in 2016, but it was for the 2017 tax year. And I voted against the 28% increase. Now, there was a typo that was in the minutes that was supposed to be addressed. I have the audio from that meeting, and I will be releasing it on my YouTube account, and it will be shared on Facebook and throughout social media to substantiate that I did not vote on it, and it's completely false. Even the signed documents in regards to that tax levy that my signature is on, because I was board president, shows that I did not vote for the property tax increase. It is a false lie against my name and what I've done in office now. I have consistently opposed raising our property taxes, just as I did on the county board now. When we voted on it back in November for the county board, I was one of the 7 that voted against it. And I don't believe that, unless we're going to get something out of it, I don't see the purpose of raising property taxes. If I can't point to something that my community is going to get out of raising those taxes, I can't see me voting for it. That's just my personal opinion on that. Keisha says, bring vote info to local high schools. So that information is dispersed to all of our local high schools. That is a separate elected position. Now, I can bring the information, but I can't physically go in there and register them to vote. The county clerk's office, which is as an elected official position, that is their office, and they determine how that if they're going to go and have a drive there. Now, I can partner with the school district to register people to vote, but because of the particular point in time where we are right now, where We are past traditional registration. I cannot register them. Only the county clerk's office can. So the county clerk's office can register you to vote. So if you're at a voting site, you can register to vote and vote at the same time. So if you know any 17-year-olds that will be 18 prior to November 6th, they can vote at this right now, actually, between now and March 20th. With the election, again, going back to the election, early voting has started as of March 5th, and it will continue until March 19th, and election day is March 20th. And for more information, go to vancewyatt.com/voting for that information. You guys can go ahead and ask more questions. I don't know. See, a few of you guys were asking pretty tough questions earlier, or more direct questions. You guys don't have to be afraid to come out and ask, more questions out there. There's definitely, a lot of concerns in the community and throughout Lake County, and I want to make sure I'm addressing those. To go back until you guys get some questions, I'll go back to some of the two more points that I had before we'll probably cut this off. The first thing is in regards to school shootings. One of my colleagues brought up the fact about school shootings and how do we address school shootings in Lake County. That is going to be discussed at the Law and Judicial Committee, which the Sheriff's Office actually does oversee or have oversight over. So we are going to address that in regards to unincorporated areas. Now, if you live in an incorporated area, which is most of the entire 14th district is in an incorporated area, those school shootings will be coordinated by your local city or municipality. So if you live in Park City or Gurnee, Waukegan, or Chicago, Lake Bluff, those individual police departments are to come up with their own procedures in conjunction with the school district. We want to make sure that our students are safe, but we also want to make sure that we do it in a responsive way. We understand the tragedy that happened, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen here. So that's one reason why the Law and Judicial Committee is going to be bringing it up and trying to find a way that we can address those particular issues. The next thing that is a little less, more focused towards North Chicago, which is the reason I bring up North Chicago a little bit more than other communities that I represent, is because that is about 56% of my district. So it is more than half of the district. The majority of the people that live there or live in the district live right there in North Chicago. But making sure that we address everything, or each individual community. So the next big thing that we're going to be thing that we're working on is with Heart School. There is a non-for-profit that will be coming up with will be redeveloping Heart School. And what they want to do is turn it into senior living, where it's currently a old school that has not been, or if you're older and you know that Central Elementary, it is a school that has been sitting vacant for about 7 or 8 years now, and it has been vandalized a number of different times. What this group wants to do is actually build up on or add on an addition to the school and actually have that as the dormitory portion of it, and then the current school, they're going to turn that more into a area where you're able to, have community functions, also have all the normal amenities that you find in a senior home. And that's going to be about a $15 million redevelopment right there in the center of a residential area in North Chicago. And it will be back on the tax roll, so it will be privately owned, which means it will be tax dollars coming into the community as well as through this redevelopment, which is going to be a great thing, similar to the redevelopment at Coles Park, which is the Marion Jones redevelopment. After a certain point in time, it will revert to private. Chris has a question about if Illinois decides to ban the modern sporting rifle and enact restrictions on magazines and implementation of a gun dealer licensing bill, would you support Lake County businesses and residents not being included, especially opting out of county out of those laws? I'm assuming you mean would I be supportive opting out of our county into, if they were to enact it and if there was an option for the county board to opt out of it, similar to the concealed carry law? I would not. So I think that we should ban stock or the stock bump. Or I forgot the phrasing for it, but there's a device or addition to a gun that allows you to have a semi-automatic gun shoot as if it's a bump stock. I'm sorry, that's what it's called. I would not support opting the Lake County out of it. I think that we need gun reform, some type of common sense. I would love to see, for instance, I know the NRA has blocked gun dealers from allowing those records to be digitized. That's one of the issues that when the ATF is trying to investigate shootings and especially mass shootings, and figuring out they have to go through everything by paper. I think that should be digitized, but that is an act of Congress. That's not an act on the state or local level that we can force that. In regards to the modern sporting rifle, or in regards to magazine reduction or the size of the magazine, I wouldn't have a problem with the state doing it, and I would not opt out of Lake County for any type of reduction in regards to that. And now I do know in my district, or our district, we do have a shooting range in it. So I am going to make that person mad as well, I'm sure. There is a shooting range right in the center of our district in Waukegan that has assault weapons there. My personal opinion in regards to assault weapons, I don't think that the average Joe needs an assault weapon. I've been in Las Vegas where people have assault weapons on their back walking down the street. It's not something I want to feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable, and I don't want to be accustomed to that. I think that those type of guns, I'm not going to say outright outlaw them, period. I think that should be more or less as something that should stay in a gun rifle range or something like that. That's enclosed. Over next to Falls Park District, our major park down in North Chicago, there is an open air shooting range. I don't support open range shooting ranges. I think that if they're going to be a shooting range, it should be enclosed, and it should be away from a residential area, back tucked away ideally in an industrial park, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. That way, if there was a malfunction and the gun was to release outside, and it was to go through the walls or anything like that, it should be out of the way so that no one could be harmed, at least that, or safely, that there's someone that's safe in their home. And I think that's something we definitely need to do. So I do believe that we should have the bump stock restriction, and I will definitely make sure that we do not actually I won't oppose it if we were going to opt out of that. Give me 1 second. All right, so I don't see any more questions. Just wanted to make sure, because we are hitting that we're right over 1 hour mark. So normally we only do this for 1 month, or 1 hour at least. So again, I want to make sure we go back to the 2 events that are coming up. We have breakfast, which are Brett County Board Member, March 15th at 9 a.m. at the Falls Park District Youth Center. And then we also have the hashtag lunch bag event that's going to be at 10 a.m. on March 31st. And then going to the election aspect of it, I am running for full term this go around in March 2018 and November 2018 if I win the primary, which I am counting on all of your support. I do want to continue to serve our community as our advocate. I want to make sure that we address the issues that affect the entire district and not just some of it. And I think that I have the skills and the aptitude to get those things done, from getting a grocery store in North Chicago to getting getting jobs in the North Chicago, Waukegan, Park City, Gurnee area, along with making sure we have a living wage with those jobs, and not just jobs that are something like at a Walmart or anything like that. But we need something that's good paying, along with getting those tax credits for businesses to hire individuals with past criminal history. and then trying to reduce recidivism finally and actually hopefully eliminating it. My goal is to making sure that we address all of the issues that we have from dealing with climate change and preserving and protecting our environment. I want to take care of every single issue that we have, and that's my goal, is to make sure we address them. And I would love to count on your guys' support. March 20th, which is coming up. We definitely need change, real change. And, I've been in office now for almost 9 months now, and I want to continue to serve you all. And I hope that, March 20th, you will decide to vote for myself, and making sure we can provide a new generation of leadership. I want to thank you all again for joining me tonight. I know that it's not always fun to talk about policy after work, especially when, there's more fun things to watch on TV and on social media. So again, thank you. Look forward to seeing you all at my next Facebook Live town hall. Thank you. Have a good night.